We faced it before with Ghostbusters too. The difficulties are the difficulties. No matter how much people love the first statement of a premise, is Spider-Man 3 as good as the first Spider-Man? Probably not. It's probably got a little tired, maybe felt a little manufactured. Certainly, the last Indiana Jones, was like a disaster. And I think most people felt that way. Although I read online that Harrison Ford made $65 million from this. And I guess that's a reward for having created these cultural icons. So, you could reap the reward. We could do anything and, we'd all make some money probably. But no one wants to do that. We don't need the work. We don't need to do it. The public, if they only had 2 Ghostbusters, we'd all be fine. The world would not end. And but, if we're going to do it, it's impossible to say, we want to be better than the first one. Who knows? You do your best work. You try to bring fresh thoughts to it. Look at it in a new context. But I doubt it's not going to be like the rebooting of Batman. We're not going to be wearing sculpted suits with pecs and abs built into it and stuff. We're not going to get like super high tech. I don't think that's not what made Ghostbusters funny. In fact, what made Ghostbusters funny was kind of the low-tech aspect of it. So, for us, it's always going to be about character, and then secondarily, it's going to be about the pseudoscience of it. The made-up gadgets and the fake mythology. And if there's a message that underlies the whole thing, I want to believe in that message and feel like we're saying something useful to the audience.
So no Hummer Ecto-1 is what you're saying?
No,
no Ecto-1 Hummer.
No, or Ecto-1 won't float above the ground. It won't hover. It's like. Although if it did take off and start flying, I'm sure the audience would scream. Well, we actually looked. The first movie was visual effects were still optical at the time. Puppetry was one of the only alternatives unless you were going to go to full drawn animation. All you could do is actually physically build miniatures. Marshmallow Man was a guy in a marshmallow suit walking down a very richly detailed miniature set. No, you don't need to do that anymore. No one does it anymore. But at the time, the craft of it was miraculous to us. Watching them, how painstaking and how exact it was. There was a wonderful issue of FX magazine, little magazine of special effects, that had all the behind-the-scenes effect stuff. And Slimer was, several different sizes of puppet and, could be manipulated in lots of different ways. And the Library Ghost was an actual large human-scale puppet. The way when the Marshmallow Man catches fire, the way his head, flames up, they showed how they did that kind of stuff. So now that everything can be generated, it takes something out of the craft. It also maybe, I don't know if it's distancing for the audience. The audience has accepted this kind of comic book blend of visual effects. When people fight in a movie now, you can see that they're animated when they're flying through the air or performing some trick that's not humanly possible. Is that distancing? I don't know. It's fun to watch, but the other day I sat down and watched, I went to see, I forgot what movie, but there were like 3 action trailers in a row. It might have been Transformers and G.I. Joe and one other one with things flying through the air and crashing and impossible, animated, mechanical
and
monsters.
The Tower in all 3 for some reason.
The pyramids.
The pyramids.
Well, it all looked like the same movie to me, with different titles. And I thought, well, that doesn't make. Of course, I want to see it. Who doesn't want to see the whole world blow up? It's part of we have a secret longing for apocalypse, I think. But at the same time, then the trailer for Year One came on, and it's like the audience suddenly went, "Oh, like human beings, people talking, with nothing blowing up and no animation going on." And how it actually a whole new kind of buzz took over the audience, and it, obviously partly affection for what they were seeing on the screen, but I think there was also just a general fresh air came into the theater, something real that they could grab onto. So, Ghostbusters, ideally, it would be a nice combination of animation. The style of animation, who knows? It'll be state-of-the-art, I'm sure. But I don't think it needs to turn into G.I. Joe or Transformers to be satisfying. Yeah, Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd and I. Dan's always been the one who kept the flame alive. Dan wrote a script on spec on his own several years ago. Some publicity got out about it, some rumor. And it was basically Ghostbusters Go to Hell, which I thought was a great premise, But the deal failed to materialize. The team didn't come back together because no one felt a deal could be made. Like, the studio was not ready to lay out that much capital for it. But and it wasn't because we were so greedy. I don't know. It just wasn't gelling at the time. Now there's kind of more of a group will. I think there's definitely a public appetite for it. So basically, because I was already working with Gene and Lee, we hammered out a story together. And the studio signed off on the story, and Dan Aykroyd signed off. Ivan's busy directing his other movie, and Ivan's always taken the position of, let's see a first draft. He didn't want to get into micromanaging the story elements of it. So we will come to everyone with a first draft. Gene and Lee will knock it out. And, of course, they might be in hiatus on The Office now, but they have to fit it in between their other obligations. So... but we're patient. There should be a first draft coming within a few months, and then everyone will take a deep breath and read it and, see if we want to proceed.